The FAA is under new pressure to look at the size and safety of airplane seats. Airlines have been shrinking seats for years. It's not your imagination. And that led Congress to order the FAA back in 2018 to set new standards and test those standards to make sure that passengers could get up and get out to evacuate in 90 seconds or less. That testing widely criticized, and now Congress is demanding a total do-over. Chris Van Cleve has followed this story for years. Chris, good morning.
Well, good morning. More than half of flyers say they are unhappy with the amount of legroom in economy. When the FAA asked people for comments about seat sizes, they were flooded with feedback, very little of it positive. But it's the comments from Congress that are going to make a difference here. They're telling the FAA they have to try again and do their safety testing around seat sizes all over again.
There were 379 people on board Japan Airlines Flight 516 when it collided with another plane on a Tokyo runway in January. From the moment of impact, it was 18 minutes before everyone was off the Airbus A350. In theory, that evacuation should have been able to happen in 90 seconds.
What it really tells us is the current certification standards really are not applicable. They don't replicate how people get out of an airplane during an emergency.
Now lawmakers want to know if real-world conditions like crowded cabins and seat size slow evacuations. Airplane seat width is already down as much as 4 inches over the last 30 years to as little as 16 inches wide, and seat pitch, the distance between rows, has shrunk from about 35 inches to 31, and in some cases as little as 28 inches, allowing airlines to add more seats. Back in 2019, in a simulated cabin that can be filled with smoke and plunged into darkness, the FAA tested how close is too close when it comes to getting out of airline seats in an emergency. The volunteer passengers in the simulated evacuations had to deal with varying seat sizes, but they did not have to contend with real-life obstacles like smoke, the dark, or even luggage. And they were in groups of 60, nowhere near a full plane load. At the time, the FAA explained,
"We're going to try to minimize the variables to the ones that are important for this particular test."
The agency found seat size and spacing did not adversely affect the success of emergency evacuations. But because all the participants were able-bodied adults under 60, then FAA Administrator Steve Dixon acknowledged the results are useful but not necessarily definitive.
When you saw how they did this testing the first time, what went through your mind?
I was incredulous. Is this really what they did? I thought it was a joke.
Congress has now given the FAA 1 year to redo that testing. Senator Tammy Duckworth, who lost both legs while serving in Iraq, authored legislation requiring, this time, the FAA factor in how real-life conditions, including children, seniors, and the disabled, as well as the presence of carry-on bags, impacts evacuation times.
How confident are you that you could get out of the airplane in 90 seconds if you had to?
Oh, not at all confident. Not at all confident. I often fly where I'm not wearing both my artificial legs.
And it's an open question if that 90 seconds is even realistic anymore.
I don't think it's realistic anymore. Conduct a real test, and let's see what the realistic standard is.
Now, Senator Duckworth stresses the legislation is focused on safety, not the more subjective comfort, so the findings may not result in what you and I may say is a more comfortable cabin. The FAA says, in part, we look forward to implementing all provisions in the recently passed FAA reauthorization bill, including how to include all perspectives of the flying public as we continue to ensure planes can be evacuated safely. Tony?
Chris, I do care about safety, but comfort matters too. There are people out there, according to that survey, who are comfortable with the current seat situation?
They may be very small people. I don't know who those 44% of Americans are.
That's right.
They're known as toddlers. Yeah.
That's right.
Chris, thank you very much.
That's right.
Appreciate it.